Today, we're going to dive into a really challenging, but I think incredibly important idea from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. It gets right to the heart of a struggle we all face every single day. Do we follow our own path or do we follow the crowd? And what's really on the line when we make that choice? You've probably heard this quote before, right? But for Nietzsche, this wasn't just a clever line. It was a prophecy. He saw it as the inevitable, unchangeable fate for anyone who chooses the easy, well-trodden path over their own. So, when he talks about this prophecy of forgetting, he's not talking about some dramatic, sudden end. No, what Nietzsche was describing is something much quieter and maybe even scarier, a slow, gradual death of the soul. Let's really dig into what he meant by that. See, for Nietzsche, deciding to just go with the flow isn't a simple social choice, like picking a restaurant with friends. It's a deep spiritual surrender. It's you on a fundamental level declaring, I would rather be liked than be real. I would rather be accepted in their world than go through the trouble of building my own. And every single time we conform, we make these little trade-offs. We give up a tiny piece of ourselves. You trade your unique voice for the comfort of, not making waves. You trade your real identity for the warm, fuzzy feeling of acceptance. And maybe worst of all, you trade your own personal truth for the temporary high of applause. And after you've made enough of those little surrenders, what's even left? You're not an original anymore. You're just a copy. You become a faint echo in a really loud room, just a reflection of what everyone else is doing. You become forgettable because you never actually stood for anything that was uniquely you. So you have to ask, why is the crowd so tempting then? If it's so bad, why do we feel its pull? Well, it offers something we're all wired to crave, safety. But as Nietzsche saw it, that safety, it's not freedom. It's a comfortable prison. Think about this. Nietzsche wrote this more than a century ago, but doesn't it feel like he could have written it this morning? The tribe, or the crowd, it is absolutely everywhere now. It's in the endless scroll on your phone. It's in the algorithm that pushes you toward consensus. It's that workplace culture that only rewards fitting in. It's this constant digital whisper telling you what to think, what to like, and what you're allowed to say. So let's just lay it all out. Here is the deal the crowd offers you. It promises you comfort, but the price you pay is your voice. It promises you acceptance, but it's gonna cost you your identity. And yeah, it promises safety, but to get it, you have to surrender your truth. So looking at it like that, is that really a bargain worth making? And here's the real twist, the harsh reality of it all. The crowd's acceptance, it's completely conditional. It doesn't value you for who you actually are. It values you for being manageable, for being predictable. You're only useful as long as you don't rock the boat. And that right there explains why the crowd so often attacks people who think for themselves. It's not because the independent thinker is automatically wrong. It's because they're free. And a free mind is a genuine threat to any system that runs on obedience and conformity. Okay, so what does it actually take to break free and become a real, authentic individual? Well, according to Nietzsche, it's a really hard path. And it begins with what he called a series of symbolic deaths. To really become yourself, you have to let these things die inside you. You have to kill that part of you that is desperate to please others. You have to kill that gnawing need for other people to tell you you're worthy. And you have to kill the carefully crafted mask you perform for the world. It's all about shedding a skin that was never really yours to begin with. If any of this is making you feel a little uncomfortable or conflicted, that's actually a good sign. That tension you're feeling, that's not a weakness. That is the sound of friction between who you truly are and what the world is telling you to be. That's your soul fighting to have its own voice. This whole journey of breaking free, it's not just about rejecting the crowd. It's about creating something new and powerful in its place. And this leads us to one of Nietzsche's most famous and maybe most misunderstood concepts, the Übermensch. The Übermensch, or the overman, it's not about being superior to other people, not at all. It's about becoming the master of your own life. It's the person who stops just accepting the values they've been handed and instead forges their own. It's about creating your own purpose and finding your own meaning in what can be a very chaotic world. Now let's be crystal clear. This is not an easy path. It is a trial by fire. You will have to face isolation, you'll have to face crippling self-doubt, and you'll be profoundly misunderstood by the very same crowd you've just left behind. Honestly, this is the point where most people get scared and turn back. But if you can endure that, if you can walk through it, everything changes.
You start to build a life on your own principles, not on passing trends. You stop desperately needing validation from others. You stop wasting your precious energy on people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And in that process, you become solid. You become unshakable.
And it's so important to remember, Nietzsche's ultimate ideal here isn't about becoming some kind of perfect, flawless God. It's about becoming a whole human being, someone who has integrated all their parts, the good and the bad, their flaws and their strengths, instead of hiding behind 1,000 different masks. Now, this whole philosophy, it's not just some abstract idea from a book. It's a direct challenge to you right now. So let's turn that challenge inward with a few questions for you to really think about. Just think about your day-to-day life for a second. Your conversations, your job, what you post online. How much of that is a genuine expression of who you are, and how much of it is just a performance for an audience? We all have them, right? The voices of our parents, our teachers, society in general. All those voices that shaped our idea of what we should be doing. Whose script are you still following, maybe without even knowing it?
And here it is, the ultimate test. If you were to look back on the life you were living right at this moment, at the person you chose to be today, would you feel pride? Or would you feel the regret of a life lived for someone else? Because in the end, that's the real legacy of the individual. The crowd just fades away. The trends disappear. But the person who dared to forge their own path, to think their own thoughts, and to live their own truth, that's the person who gets remembered. That's the person who is not forgotten.